Today, you're going to be doing the last revising part of your draft, and it's one of the most important parts after the introduction. This is the conclusion today. You're going to be writing or revising your draft. It all depends on where you're at. Now, most of you have a conclusion on your draft. So you're going to be revising that conclusion. Right? In the beginning, some of you didn't have a conclusion, so you would be writing, but I think we're all at the revising part of the conclusion. So today is going to be the last revising part. But before you watch today's lesson video and do the assignment, I wanted to give you a little instruction of what you're going to see and what you're going to do. Okay? So here's what you're going to see in your lesson. You're going to see a slide that looks like this, okay? Similar to this. It's actually what you're going to do. Every opinion essay conclusion needs these things. They all have to have first transitions, the second, a call to action, and the third, to restate the opinion. Now, two of these are pretty somewhat new to you, at least one of them is. One is not, and one isn't, but we've just heard it in different ways. So we're going to talk first about transitions. Now, we have really talked about transitions, I just haven't called them that. For example, when we're writing a story or an essay that has to do with time and time order. Time order words are transition words. They're words that take us to another step, so to speak. Okay, so I'll talk about that in a minute on the next slide. And the next is call to action. Now, this isn't something that we've done yet, but I think once I get into the definition and the examples of it, you're going to see um, that we really have covered some of this in the very beginning of the year. And the last part, restate the opinion, is kind of a little bit obvious. So let's first talk about transitions. Okay, so what are transitions? A transition is a phrase or word which is used to give a connection between two or more thoughts and ideas. These help a piece of writing to flow in a much better way. And I gave the example of time order words where you can say, first you're going to do this, or next, or after that. Okay. Those are simple transition words that you're pretty much used to using, right? But in a conclusion, you have specific transition words. Okay? So, what are conclusion transition words? Well, these are transition words used in the conclusion of your piece of writing. Sounds like a duh, right? The conclusion transition words can help you bring together all the ideas that were presented through the essay in one simple sentence. Okay? That doesn't mean your conclusion is going to be one sentence. It's not. But it's something that needs to be there. Okay? And that's your transition words. And again, you're going to give a fantastic example in the lesson today. Right? And she's going to go over a little bit more, but I wanted to give you a little a preview, a little briefing of what you have coming to you today. Okay? So here are some examples of conclusion transition words, especially ones that apply to an opinion essay that you're working on now. Okay, so an example would be in conclusion. Okay, now you could start your your concluding paragraph by saying in conclusion. Okay, you could start with therefore or overall or as a result. It all has to depend on your writing. So some transition words fit better than others. Now, these are just, I said, examples of just four of them. There are lots of transition words, but these are pretty common ones that are used in writing that like you're doing. Okay, at your level, these are pretty common ones, and it's okay if you all use the same thing. It's fine as long as your transition word fits your writing. Okay, so in conclusion is really a popular one, and you're going to see that used in today's example as well. Okay, so these are transitions. Now, it should sound like, oh, yeah, I kind of know what that is. We just hadn't called them transitions before. Okay, so that's something that you absolutely have to have in your concluding paragraph. First, you need a transition. Okay, the next thing you need is something called a call to action. Now, if I said, I said, Riley, go to the store and get me a loaf of bread. Well, if you think about that sentence, I'm telling you to do something. We call those, well, you used to call them telling sentences. Now we call them commands. Okay. So a call to action is a command. It's a command that instructs the reader to perform a task. Well, think about it. In your opinion essay, you are stating your opinion of something that you want or something that you feel is the best at something. So you're going to command that the reader do something about it. Right? These are absolutely crucial in your conclusion of an opinion essay. Absolutely important. Without the call to action and telling the reader what they need to do, you've let them slip away. Don't give them all this information and all these reasons and all these examples and just let it go. No, you want them to do these things. You want them to feel that what you want or what you need is what they need to do. Okay. So here's a couple examples of, um, of some calls to action. Okay. First one, lace up your shoes, get out there and run. Now I'm telling you, do it. Tie those shoes up, get out there and run. Start building today. That's a call to action to this. Tells the reader, instructs them to perform a task. Get out and get moving. Okay? You have to give them something to do to perform a task. Okay? So those things need to be in your conclusion. Right? And the last one, simply restate your opinion. Now you've said your opinion, your strong opinion, in the very first paragraph. You really want to restate, say that opinion again. Now you can reword it or you can leave it exactly the way it was. That's fine. But you always want to do that because it reminds the reader not only what you want them to do, but how you feel about it. Okay. So your transitions and your calls to action and restating that opinion are so important that you have to have those in your conclusion that you're going to be working on today. Okay. So you're going to go to the lesson in Google Classroom, following my instructions. You have lesson 8 to do today. There are a couple of things that you're going to be doing in lesson 8. One is filling out an anchor chart that looks like this. You have to decide what your transition is going to be, what your call to action is, and and you're going to write down your opinion again, how you're going to restate it in your conclusion. Then you are going to, when you have just those done, you only need one, whatever it is you're going to use in your writing, in your concluding paragraph. Once you are finished with that, you will turn that in to me. Just that, just lesson 8. But you need to then go to your draft and revise your conclusion, making sure you have these in there. So, for example, if I decided to use lace up your shoes and get out there and run, and I put that in my anchor chart, and then I go to my draft and I don't use it, I missed the point. So, what you put in your anchor chart is what you will be using in your conclusion. Okay. Now, you are not going to share that conclusion with me or your draft again, and you're not going to turn that in again. It is what it is right now. This is a point where you have to decide, is everything I have on here the way I want it at this point? Okay. So you're only going to turn in this lesson 8. Do not ask me about turning in your draft again. Okay. This is the last revising you're going to be doing of your draft. So once you read it through, make sure you're happy with it. Okay. So today, work on your conclusion and rewriting that conclusion, revising that conclusion, or writing it, because some of you might actually need to write a real conclusion, right? That's what you're working on today. You're so close to finishing. I can't wait to get to the final draft and for you to turn in your papers and for me to read all the fantastic writing that you've been doing. And wow, how impressive am I that in this process, how well you guys have improved in your writing throughout this. Okay. All right, get writing, and we're almost there.